好4JB2，4JB2，OK。咁我會 send 多份去 WhatsApp 嗰邊嘅，咁就 in case 你可以之後睇翻。Google Meet. And you can go to the YouTube link and say hi. Oh, testing YouTube sound. Is it clear? Is YouTube sound okay? So say hi in the chat box after you have reached here. Okay, clear. Sound okay. Thank you. Thank you, Happy and Kisan. So let's wait a short time until everyone's here. So today it will be the last session of talking about curve sketching, and still we will use the curve sketching worksheets that I sent to you and we used through the past few lessons. And this time today we will see the last example, the question 11 of the curve sketching worksheet. And so I'll change the display to the worksheet first. And if you have arrived here but have not yet said hi, then please do so in the chat box. Okay, so again, so say hi in the chat box in case you have arrived here. And this is the question we are going to see here in this lesson. I think mainly this one because it may take time to do work to do a complete curve sketching question. It may take time, so I think probably it will be one. And if there are a little time remains after we talk about this, then I have just given an assignment on Chapter 7 curve sketching just before this lesson. I have in the Google Classroom given you an assignment, and therefore after finishing this, if we have time, you can also start working on it. And the deadline for this assignment will be Sunday night, and therefore you take some time and start working on it. Okay, so this is question 11. It is also a little different with the ones before, because in this question you see unknowns in the function. You see unknowns in the function. So right now it is 23. I think there are still someone else didn't hear yet. Are not here yet. So again, if you have arrived here and you have not said hi in the chat box, please do so. Say hi in the chat box so I know you're here. Anyway, and then we will still begin because I am afraid we may not have enough time for the whole questions. Doing a long curve sketching question may be time consuming, and so we begin. Okay, so you see here the difference with the previous question is that we have the function, but then in the function there are some unknowns a and b. At the very beginning, let a and b be constants. So there are unknowns a and b. Also denote the curve of y equal to fx by c. That means c is the curve. C is the name of the curve. Then later, when we when we describe the curve, we can use the name c. It is given that a -4, -5 is a turning point of c. Okay, so this is the only given condition that can help us to do some finding unknowns. The only given condition -4, -5 is a turning point of c. So how do we use it? This is the key point. How do we use it? So we see there are two unknowns. And if we want to find two unknowns, we need two equations. But here is only one information, and therefore one piece of information probably can help us set one equation, but one equation seems not enough for two unknowns. Therefore, it is the key is how do we understand this one piece of information. So note that this I try to highlight it to show you more. This in fact is not just a piece of information. This in fact is not just one piece of information. Indeed, here are two, because first of all, it is a turning point of C. That means A is a point on C, and that means A is a point on C. That means the point A, the coordinates -4, -5, put into the equation, it will be correct. That's the meaning for point on the curve. And so, which means if you put f x is -4, put x as -4 into the f, then you will get -5. So it helps you to set up one equation. What about another? What about the other information? I mean, within the same sentence, what is the other information that we can use to help us set equation? The other information will be, it is a turning point. And by turning point, it means that turning point, then it means that if we do the usual finding turning point process, then like it will be f dash, differentiate it, and then put the x into it, it will be 0. Because turning point means either it is a maximum going up and then down, or it will be a minimum going down and then up. And therefore the other information will be A is turning point. And then by turning point, it means that if we differentiate and put the x in it, then it will be 0. Because this is one of the property for turning point, that is going increasing and then decreasing for maximum, or decreasing and then increasing for minimum. Also, from here, then we can set up two equations and help us to find the A and B. Okay, so then we begin. And you can see also that finding A and B is not very easy work. Therefore, you will see is given 4 marks for finding A and B. And by the way, a question like this, usually we will say it is a long question in M2 exam paper. That it usually counts like 12 to 13 marks altogether. And therefore, usually a complete curve sketching questions will be a long question in M2 exam. And when I say long question, it means it will be in the section B, and then usually it is about 12 to 13 marks altogether for one question. And then in exam, usually it will be there are 4 long questions. Each of them will be 12 to 13 marks, and so the section B will usually be will always be 50 marks. Also, then we begin those work. Okay, so for part A, we first put this f4 equal f-4 equal to f-5, and therefore so f-4 equal to -5. So then just put it in and set the -5. The -4 will be 16 minus 4a plus b, while the denominator -4 plus 2, therefore -2. And we arrange it because later we will need to solve the equation, therefore it will be better to rearrange it. And so we have 4a minus b equals to 6. I hope it is not too fast for you, as I'm just doing rearrangement. I'm just trying to move the denominator and then rearranging the terms. On the other hand, let's also do the turning point thing. Then we need to differentiate and then put -4 and set it to 0. It's the usual finding turning point steps. Differentiate, set to 0, and then get the x. But we are finding unknown, therefore the step is a little bit reversed. Then differentiate, put the x, and then it is 0. Also, the other thing will be f dash -4 equals to 0. And here, this function we will need to differentiate by ourselves. And we cannot easily do long division because there are unknowns. And still, it can still be possible. You can still do long division, but with unknowns, it seems not so easy. Therefore, we just directly differentiate. So differentiate and then put -4. Differentiate first, then differentiate the top and then keep the bottom. So 2x plus a, and then multiply by x plus 2 is differentiate top and then leave the bottom, and then minus differentiate the bottom and leave the top. Differentiate the bottom is just 1, and then leave the top, and then over the denominator square. And then after all these, we will put x to be -4 and then equal to 0. You can again note this notation, how we show this. After doing differentiation and then put x to be -4. So this is the notation, and we'll set it to 0. And then now we can all change everything to -4. That means a -8 plus a, and then a -4 plus 2, that means -2. And then the other one, I don't write a 1 because 1 times anything is just not very useful. And then -4, then it is 16 minus 4a plus b. And the denominator, when multiplied to the other side, it will just be 0. Therefore, I don't write the denominator. And then we try to rearrange it for easier solving. So to rearrange it, then 4 minus 2 is 2a, while b is -b, which gives us the right hand side 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. Oh, that's amazing. Just the number has gone away. Also, this is the equation 2. And then now, after having equation 1 and equation 2, then we can, as usual, use the 2 equations, 2 unknown skills to do it. So use my program for -1, 6, and while for the blue equation 2, then 2, -1, 0. And so we have a is 3 and b is 6 by solving. Okay. So. And then so we've done a few work here, a few steps here, and then we have already done the part A for 4 marks. And to have a review, to have a quick view on the flow, then we use the both information coming from that sentence. Then we have the point and also the slope, and set up 2 equations and solve it. Also, this is the part A. Any questions? Is it okay? So you can see when there are some unknowns in the function, then we will always need to try to use information given to help us do it. And also we sometimes have to be smart when we use the information. It's here only 1 sentence, but it contains 2 pieces of information. It's a point, and also it is a turning point. So it is 2 pieces of information. Okay, so then part B, find the asymptote. To find the asymptote, then usually there will be 2 steps. You can refer to your note card again for the 2 steps. So to find asymptotes, the 2 steps, then first it will be check the denominator, see when the denominator will be 0, then it corresponds to vertical asymptote. And the other one, for non-vertical asymptote, we do long division. Okay, so the 2 steps. So check the vertical asymptote first. Vertical asymptote comes from when x plus 2 is 0. Therefore, we can directly write this down. Vertical asymptote, is x equal to -2. It is the case when denominator is 0. That is x equal to -2. Therefore, we can directly write this down. While on the other hand, for non-vertical asymptote, then we do long division. So we do long division. So x squared, a and b are already found. We can put it back into the division. A and b are already found, and divide by x plus 2. And so we do a long division, x squared plus 2x, and then do a subtraction. 3x minus 2x is x, and then plus 6, and then just add 1. So x plus 2 remaining 4, and therefore fx is indeed x plus 1, which is the quotient outside. And then the other one will be it's like the primary school mixed fraction. So we rewrite it. And therefore the oblique asymptote, sorry, wrong spelling. The oblique asymptote will be the quotient. Also, here are the two asymptotes. The general steps, we check the denominator for 0 and then vertical asymptote. The other one will be non-vertical asymptote. We do long division and it will be the quotient. Part C then it will be to find the maximum and minimum points. Find the max and minimum points. And by the way, we should all know that maximum points and minimum points are both turning points. And here it will be a very good answer checking, because we find the values of A and B from this piece of information for turning points. And then under this information, we find A and B. And so if later when we find the maximum minimum points using this A and B, then we should have sum of our answer should be -4, -5. Then you can consider it as answer checking, which means you are doing things reasonably. So if you are doing things well, careful enough, nothing wrong, then I think one of the maximum or the minimum points will be this -4, -5. Maybe we at first we don't know it is max or min, but we should know then one of it should be the -4, -5. That is, we can use this for answer checking. Also, then we do this maximum minimum points and refer to your note card. Then we do the usual step: differentiate, set 0, find the x, and then make the table and conclude the maximum minimum point. Also, then we go to the lower part for some more spaces. Okay, so this is then part C. Differentiate first. The long division form will be easier to differentiate because we can do differentiation term by term. Therefore, differentiate x plus 1, then it will be 1. While the 4 over something here, then we can consider it as power -1 and do differentiation. So power -1, therefore bring down -1, and then it becomes power -2. And then we set the f dash equal to 0. Forget to write the set f dash equal to 0, which means it will be 1 minus 4 and then x plus 2 square equal to 0. And then we solve for x from here. So we can put non-x to the other side and then x to one side. Then like it will be 1 equal to 4 and then x plus 2 square. And that means x plus 2 square equals to 4. And then do a square root on both sides. But remember plus or minus. And therefore x is 0 or x is -4. And so up to this moment, you can check whether it is reasonable. Just as before, these x equal to 0 and x equal to -4 means possible turning points. That means these are the position that the f dash is equal to 0. And then so we can check also, is it reasonable with our previous works. So the question tells us that A -4, -5 is a turning point. Therefore, one of our answers should be -4. And so you see this makes sense because we really have one of the answer equal to -4. It's a kind of answer checking that's useful, especially when you are in test or exam. You don't have anything to check your answer, and therefore doing some answer checking with the questions to check if it is reasonable is usually a good thing. So, and after finding the 0 and -4, then we draw the table. Check the function again and draw the table. So when we draw the table, remember we use the x we find for cutting points, but not just these two x. Also, don't forget to use the vertical asymptote position to cut as well, because the vertical asymptote will break the graph into two parts or maybe more, and then across the vertical asymptote, the behavior may be different. Therefore, use 0, -4, and also -2 to make the table. Okay, so try to arrange it in ascending order. So negative infinity to negative 4, and then negative 4, and then negative 4 to negative 2. This is the vertical asymptote position. Negative 2, and then negative 2 to 0, and then 0, and then 0 to infinity. So it is the whole table. And then we try to analyze the behavior for f dash and also f, because we want to know the max and minimum point. So we check the first derivative. This is also called the first derivative test. So go back to the first derivative here. It is the first derivative, or maybe a little bit higher. This one. And then we can put numbers in different region to check the sign. So for example, here we can put negative 10. Then if we put negative 10 here, then it will be negative 8 square. And then the denominator become big. That means this thing becomes small. So 1 minus something small, it is positive. And it is also increasing. For the middle one, then we can like put negative 3 in here. So negative 3 put in here, that means negative 1 square, and then become 1. Become 1, that means 1 minus 4, it is negative. And the negative 2 is the asymptote position, therefore nothing for slope or function value. And the negative before means decreasing. And then in fact, we can conclude here, this is a maximum point. Alright, next, let's go on. Then for the third part, we can like put negative 1 in here. So if we put negative 1 in here, then it will be 1 square. And that means it is also 1 minus 4, therefore negative. And then this is decreasing. Finally, the last part, we can like put 1 into the last part. And so if we put 1 here, then it will be 3 square. That means 9 for the denominator. And then so 9 is a bit is bigger than the numerator, therefore 1 minus it will be positive, so it is increasing. And so from all these we can conclude that this gives us a maximum point and this gives us a minimum point. And so the conclude, therefore maximum point is equal to negative 4, and then put also the negative 4 into the original question. Put negative 4 into here, but this one we don't need to do because it is given negative 4, negative 5, and it's also the information given, so it matches with our calculation. And the minimum point, then this one we need to calculate. It is when x equal to 0, the minimum point. So when x is 0, then where is the function? The original function. The original function here. The original function. X is 0. Then it is 1 plus 4 over 2. That 1 plus 4 over 2 means it is 3. So this is the max and minimum points. Also, so far we have finished up to C. And you can see after finishing up to C, then we already get like 11 points. And finally, the last part is to sketch the curve of C. So we try to put all these information together and sketch the curve. I hope through all these lessons, you can see doing curve sketching questions is mechanical, which means every time you are doing things, it is every time is like every other time, and but then there are long steps, and you need to follow some instructions, and some steps are long, and some steps you will need to remember how to do. And but then all the steps are very similar. So don't be afraid with curve sketching questions. And in fact, most students who study M2 will think doing curve sketching question is the most secure way to get marks. And therefore, later, probably maybe in exam or maybe even in DSE, if you see a curve sketching question, then have your own confidence to complete it. But finally, we sketch the curve. Okay, whenever we sketch the curve, always put the asymptotes first. So vertical asymptote x equal to negative 2, therefore put the vertical asymptote negative 2. And then while the oblique asymptote is y equal to x plus 1, it is a positive slope and 1 y-intercept. Okay, therefore put the 1 here and then a positive slope. So probably like this. It is a y equal to x plus 1 is the oblique asymptote. Okay, and then next we also put other information into the graph here. So the maximum point is -4, -5. Therefore, we can again also check the up or down position. When x is -4, because we want to compare it to this oblique asymptote. When x is -4, we put -4 in here, then we get -3. Therefore, the asymptote is -4, -3, and then this point is lower than the asymptote, and therefore, so I zoom it in. It will be -4, -5, so probably somewhere here. Probably somewhere here, -4, -5. Then it is the maximum point. While the minimum point is 0, 3. And also we can again check the asymptote. The asymptote here is 1. Therefore 0, 3 it should be somewhere higher, 3. And then so this is the maximum and the minimum points. And next it will be the checking the direction. So going increasing to decreasing. And then the middle is the maximum point. Therefore it's something like this. Something like this. And also note the meaning of asymptote. The graph should be going nearer and nearer to the asymptotes. So it is increasing and then decreasing. While this minimum point, so decreasing and then increasing, then we can complete the work. I try to put it in different colors to recognize easily. So I try to put it in black. So going nearer and nearer, and the maximum point, and then going nearer and nearer to the vertical one, then it will be like this. On the other hand, after the vertical asymptote, so come back from the vertical asymptote, going down, and then to the other side, going nearer and nearer to the asymptote, then the whole graph will be like this. So is it okay? So this is the whole completed work. By the way, also finally, the label is y equal to fx. It's the graph of C. So is it okay? Then we have completed the work here. And again, you can see we start the lesson at 35 and it is now more than 30 minutes. Of course, when I do the work, I also need to do explanation. Therefore, it takes more time. And when you do the work, then you also you don't need to explain to yourself. You just remember those steps and do it. So maybe you can do it faster. I think it would be very good. It will be really, really very good if you can do this in like 10 to 15 minutes. Then it will be really good. And after all these lessons, I hope you all understand how are we going to do curve sketching questions. The general step, we try to follow the instructions and do one by one steps one by one. And so that's it. Let me see. If I don't remember wrong, the lesson is at 15, right? Is it the lesson ends at 10:15? And then so for some rest of the time, then you can also review the whole example here, or you can start working on on the homework. In the homework, I asked you to do the first two questions are easier, are shorter. I just asked you to find the point of inflection and also to find asymptotes. While the last two questions will be will be a complete complete curve sketching question. Not last three. I mean. So I asked you to do exercise 7C, question 11, 23, 25, 30, and 34. 11 and 23 are short work. You just find part of the information. You don't need to sketch the curve. And 25 is also not hard because you have the table. While 30 and 34, they are complete curve sketching questions. Therefore, take some time and do it. Maybe even not now, but still take some time to do it after the lesson, before weekend. And also, when you work on curve sketching questions, try your best to make it faster and more careful. Okay, I think careful is more important. Fast or slow is, well, maybe you still have time in the exam or test, but then to be careful is more important. Also, that's it for today. So see if you have any questions to ask. If you do, please feel free to ask. 每次做新 curve sketching 就即係都差唔多一堂一條㗎啦，一堂好難做到2條，就算係55分鐘都難少少，除非好熟。咁但係咧就熟咧就係嚟緊大家都要去做去會熟嘅嘢啦。咁就因為咧curve sketching 都係一種好熱門，即係佢未必成條好完整做，但係都係好熱門嘅題目嚟嘅喺考試嗰啲，所以都係要熟㗎啦。即係如果你可能都要好似我上堂咁要攞半個鐘嚟做一條咧，就可能會有啲未必趕得切嘅。或者如果你再耐啲嘅，可能9個字先做一條，咁就真係可能會唔係好趕得切嘅。咁所以咧就即係都要熟㗎啦。Okay, then well maybe then you can do your own work for homework for the rest of the time, and then we will end the lesson at exactly 15. But if you have some questions, please feel free to ask. You can type in the chat box, or you can also say in the Google Meet or whatever. Or even maybe after school, I mean in the afternoon, you want to have something to ask, also feel free to ask. You can ask me WhatsApp, Signal, or in the Discord, or whatever you like. So just find some way to ask if you have questions. And by the way, tomorrow after school, I will find you to do compulsory homework. If you have not done the compulsory chapter 4 homework, I will find you tomorrow after school and do the homework. And therefore, if you have not done it, and by the way, in fact, we have a test on chapter 7 compulsory first day, and it is also a good time to study and to review, to revise. On the screen, you can see the assignments for M2 Chapter 7, the second one, which is the one I just described. And those are a few questions, altogether 5. But although they are only 5, they are not few. Especially there are some curve sketching questions. Therefore, reserve some time and do the work. Sorry, what happened? What happened? Oh, sorry, I know, okay. Alright, I cannot change that. So that's it for today, and so see you again tomorrow. Goodbye everyone, goodbye.